Hello everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about what happens when the rule of law is twisted by the very same people who are sworn to uphold it.
Isn't that against the law?
I am the law!
At this moment, there is a massive fight going on between the Trump administration and rogue activist judges. I'm going to break down the sinister tactics that are being used by these judges, as well as some crazy cases that are so wild you would think it was from an episode on TV. I'm Jason Chernetsky, and this is True Story. Now, the Trump administration is currently under fire, and this isn't just political noise. This is an organized lawfare campaign, the same kind that's being used against him for the last 4 years.
We're doing great on illegal immigration. We are being hit hard by judges that I think they're trying to take away the power of the presidency. I was elected.
Now, to break this down simply, here's what's happening. Trump will issue an executive order, say to deport illegal aliens, or pretty much anything else to reverse the damage done by the Democrats for the last 4 years. Then a rogue Democrat activist judge will come in and put a nationwide injunction against him, telling Trump, nope, sorry, you can't do that thing.
I am the decider of us three! I decide! Let the decider decide! I am not the suggester!
Now, the entire plan is to tie up the Trump administration in the courts as much as possible, to delay him as much as possible, because to delay is to deny. Most of the time, these judges will not have any legal basis or standing to do these things. However, they do not care.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
They want drawn-out trials. They want to tie up the Trump administration in the court system to fight these long, drawn-out legal battles. Because the longer the Trump administration spends in court fighting these things, the longer they're not able to actually do the executive orders. One judge, James Boasberg, was so hell-bent on stopping Trump that when the administration was deporting hundreds of illegals, he literally put in a ruling that they have to turn around the planes mid-air and bring them back. And because they didn't listen to him, obviously, he's threatening them with contempt of court. Now, let's start with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Kilmar, who's an El Salvadorian citizen, was living in Maryland and was deported back to El Salvador in March. Now, the Trump administration cited his deportation as an administrative error because in 2019, a judge ruled that he doesn't have to be deported to El Salvador because of the threat from rival gangs. But here's the truth. That threat is no longer valid because El Salvador and their president Nayib Bukele have done such a good job of cleaning up the streets, locking up all of the gangs and the gangsters, that threat from a rival gang simply no longer exists. El Salvador is now one of the safest countries in the world, and it was even given a status as one of the safest by the United States.
Hey, seriously, is this safe?
Yes, very safe. 50-50.
50-50, what, like 50% we live, 50% we die?
Yes, that's why we drive through night. It's much safer.
How much safer?
50-50.
The reality is, they just want to use this case and any other case they can get their hands on to cause problems for the administration and to delay all deportation efforts. This is a reminder that the reason they did this, the reason they imported all of these illegal immigrants, is so that they could turn around, make them citizens, and then secure a permanent voting bloc for themselves.
This is for the undocumented.
Well, what I would like to do is move them to documented. The fact that I can move them to documented.
This is the thing. What they want to do is make every single illegal immigrant have a hearing before the court. Why? Because nobody will get pretty much deported that way. It'll slow the process way down. Like, they literally used a forklift to open up the border and try to let as many people in as possible. Now, the deportations is just one fight that Trump is having with these judges. So far, district judges have issued over 79 injunctions against Trump and his agenda. Another judge blocked the DOD's effort from removing transgender people from our military. There's not a single person who can convince me that our military is better and more lethal with transgender people in it. Luckily, the Supreme Court struck that down and ruled that, yes, the president does in fact have control over the military. Judge Jennifer Thurston ordered that the Trump admin cannot arrest illegals without an individualized warrant. It just so happens that this judge's husband deleted 3 Instagram videos where he was attacking President Trump and the administration's immigration policy. He talked about how the deportations are bad for his business because he's a multifamily real estate broker. Judge Juan Cano was recently arrested for housing a literal Tren de Aragua gang member in his home. This guy was housing a gang member who is affiliated with a gang that's known for doing particularly crazy stuff. TDA is the gang that allegedly took over that Colorado apartment building and made the residents pay them rent instead of, to the actual landlord. Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested for one of the more eye-opening cases I've seen yet. She was told that ICE was arriving to her court to potentially arrest a guy that was there as one of her cases. Then she decides to escort this guy out the back door with his lawyer and tells them to leave before the ICE agents see them.
The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out, she goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom, you're not going to believe this, takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave, while a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
So the story is that this guy was playing music hella loud in his apartment building, and when he got confronted by a couple of roommates, he decided to beat them up, punching the guy over 30 times, and then when a woman intervened, he beat her as well. So this judge is literally protecting this guy, while his victims, the woman he beat up and the guys, are in the courtroom just sitting there waiting for justice. That's how insane and rogue these judges really are.
Judge Jesse. Mr. Simmons, before you speak, I know from experience that the police have completely mishandled your case and there's legal precedent for you to win, and any good defense attorney would have told you that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're quite welcome.
Now, there are a handful of ways that Trump and his administration can react to this problem. The most important way, in my opinion, is that Congress and Senate get their act together and start reining in these rogue judges. Now, if this fails and all of the other tactics fail that Trump tries, at some point, he's going to have to consider simply ignoring these rogue rulings. Now, let's talk about our little liar. Today's little liar is going to be Jon Favreau, former Obama speechwriter and podcaster. John was responding to Senator Tillis talking about how he's not going to support the nomination of Ed Martin for the DC federal prosecutor role. Now, here's what he writes. The January 6th protester who hangs out with Nazis may not get to be the top federal prosecutor in DC after all. Here's the lie. Ed Martin is not a Nazi who hangs out with other Nazis. Favreau is just throwing around the word Nazi against anybody who doesn't align with his political ideology. Ed Martin is just a regular conservative, common sense guy. And the left loves to smear conservatives as Nazis. They just demonize their opponents to try to shut down debate. Oh, well, we're not going to argue with a Nazi. It's lazy, it's dishonest, and it's the left's favorite tactic. Now, what do you guys think about this problem that the Trump administration is facing with these rogue activist judges? Should he fight them in court and wait for rulings? Should he pursue it all the way up to the Supreme Court and just trust that the Supreme Court will make the right decision? Should he start ignoring them at some point? What do you guys think is the right way for our democracy? As always, share with us your favorite memes, comments, questions, and anything else to our email at trustoryco@proton.me. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.